So here we go. Tam Axlia versus the Wolf Cave. And there's a wolf pelt that I missed. Let's save and continue. I've cleared out a little bit of it already. I managed to murder myself. Oh, Silverback, that's the boss. That's why I killed myself last time. I didn't realise I was fighting the boss. Too busy talking.
I love this part!
Oh, with Tommy's sneak attacks we should be okay. Hopefully. Get some more halfling abuse in later. Just waiting for him to pick locks and remove traps, or failing to remove traps and getting us both killed.
Now see what a true warrior looks like.
Yelp! You've bested me. What do you want? Hey, oops. What? Aw. I meant to speak to it. Oh well. I'll take the head back to the farmer. Missed some roleplay there, clearly. Oh, and I leveled up. Excellent. So we can go and talk to all the companions. I spoke to Tommy, and his story was about his best friend, and his best friend was trying to steal a great treasure and frame Tommy in order to get him thrown in jail. So yeah, so we'll get back to that now. Oops. Here we are, persuade and discipline. Okay. Let's finish clearing out this cave and then we'll speak to all the companions. So it'll turn out not to be about the Charwood, it'll turn out to be about all the companion stories in this video. And we've got... So it's good that we get the companion stories out of the way because we've done 3 of the 4 locations or... Oh god, there's loads of them. We've done 3 of the 4 locations already, so we'll hopefully won't have to do too much backpedaling to pick up the items that they need. Though there's Luskan as well, actually, so there's the Charwood and Luskan still to do. Time to run away! I don't know how
So strange.
there's such a huge group of them all at once. Right, go away. We'll rest. I'm still a bit discombobulated from just having woken up, but we'll go down and finish that wolf cave. And then go and do the companions. Oh, there's one. Don't die again, Tommy. Have you changed clothes? Must have been from leveling up. They've changed. All the companions will have changed gear. He's clearly got some sort of self-heal this level, because he's casting nothing but healing himself.
Make this fight count. It will be your last. I love this
Almost
part.
done. It's the super exciting gameplay of playing Paladin, of clicking on the monster, waiting till it dies, and then clicking on the next monster. Right, wolf pelt. More wolf pelt. More wolf pelt. More wolf pelt. Ooh, a corpse. Bit of gem, and... Yeah, so I'll continue doing stuff to... I'm sort of incrementally improving the stream. I've only been streaming for a couple of weeks now. Although apparently I've streamed for 100 hours in the past 30 days. Which I'm quite impressed with. I haven't got my average viewers up to 3 yet though, so I can I'm not managing to work towards affiliate. But once I do, I'll get all sorts of exciting things. Actually, I'm not sure what you get when you get to affiliate. I thought it would be VODs that I got, so that's what I was looking forward to. But I apparently got VODs already. Oh, you get you get to store the VODs for longer, so it'll store for 30 days. I think it's like 6 days when you're unaffiliated. It stores.
Oh, shoot! And we were...
Another wolf bell. Rest up. That's a lot of dire wolves for one cave. And one would call it a pack. What am I level? Oh yeah, I didn't do spells as well. I meant to do spells in between this last stream and this stream, but I didn't manage it. What was the hotkey for spellbook? B. Yeah. Well, that's fine. We can do it in between. Last stream and this stream. Oh. Finish the lock you're picking, you useless halfling.
It's done.
I've been watching a streamer called Destiny quite a lot recently, and there's some hilarious videos online of him playing with another streamer called Lily Pichu, and just basically bullying her all the time. I assume it's consensual, but it's and that they're joking around, because if it's not, then it's considerably abusive, and he should be instantly banned off Twitch. Silverback. Okay, so Silverback. That's weird. That's the name of an ape. But yeah, it's hilarious. Her, not just him being abusive, but her reactions to him being abusive. So let's foster that by being more abusive to Tommy Undergallows. Oh, how did I miss that? It's right by the entrance. Well, some weird bugs today. Let's get the wolf pelt. We'll go back to Farmer, hand this in, and then head back to town and speak to all the companions. Another wolf pelt. Oh, and a poor, nice cow that didn't die. Let's heal it. Nice, uninjured. Healed full with one lay on hands. Lay on hands seems to be a rubbish heal. I don't know if it gets multipliers or what. Let's see. Examine. It heals them for class level multiplied by the charisma modifier. That should be a huge heal. My class level is 10, multiplied by my charisma modifier, which is 4. It should heal for 40. How much HP have I got? 108. Where are you? There you are. Okay, Pito deal.
Greetings.
So you've returned, my lord. Have you good news? Have you the head of the she-wolf, Silverback? Actually, I have Silverback's head right here. By gods, man. So you do. Bravo. I imagine that could not have been a simple task. Well, I died one time. Allow me to take the bloody thing off your hands now. And then we'll assume 300 gold discussed will be sufficient, Jess. I think I've earned a higher reward than that. True, maybe the pelts are worth as much as I've led. Maybe the pelts aren't worth as much as I've led you to believe. Here's 375 gold. It's all I have. The herd will recover in a few years. Now, if you excuse me, I've got to make a trip to Port Last to restock the herd. Thank you again, my lord. Oh, I was hoping he would pay for pelts as well. Okay, back to time. Where are we? Stone of Recall. I wonder if the areas scale up based on your level, or if they. I'd like to make a purchase from the temple. How much are these worth? 14 gold pieces. Ah, they are a selling thing, not a reagent, because the reagents all sell for 1 gold piece. I think. Oh, you can't sell those, can you? Drop. Because despite having found it randomly, it counts as a stolen item. Let's get rid of these. Get rid of these. Oh, Alexandrite and the star. Oh, the Star of Kalimshan. I'm guessing that's what Tommy's going to ask me for. So, I think he said that was what he was stealing. Satara's gem. Sell. What was this? Topaz. Sell that as well. Okay. And in here, there's unidentified large shield. Identify. It's a +2 large shield. Nope, I've got a +2 tower shield, which is better. Okay, let's speak to Tommy, and then we will speak to the rest of them.
What can Tommy do for you?
I just want to talk. Oh, what have you got in mind, my lord? I'd like you to continue your story from before, Tommy. Aye, the night of the jewel heist, right? Sigh, I suppose you could tell. I suppose you've been a good friend, a fine friend, my lord. I can tell you about it. The gem we were after was no other than the fabled Star of Kalimshan. It's not the most valuable ruby in the land, but certainly one of the more notorious. According to legend, the Pashas of Kalimshan gifted it to their wives on their wedding night, and the stone glows from within, filled with the tears of their lost innocence, or so the story goes. My daring plan, and Sammy's, was to pluck this stone from the depths of the royal palaces, from the very chambers of the Sil Pasha's wife herself. Why steal it if it wasn't valuable? The ruby's value is more the fame one would get, my lord. The Sil Pasha would never rest until he captured the one who was responsible for its theft. At any rate, the night came. Sammy and Rhaegar stole into the palace ahead of me, with Sammy having no idea of my presence. Rhaegar left a trail that was quite easy to follow. I remember being impressed at the time that things were going so well. No guards alerted, no problems whatsoever. I thought maybe Sammy's foul luck had finally turned for once. And then? Well, of course, Sammy tripped over a fold in the carpet and took a spill into a suit of armour. It fell over him. Into 2 others, and the resulting clatter would have woken Nebuchadnezzar's dead brother-in-law. Nebuchadnezzar. Poor Rhaegar turned white as a virgin's dainty bottom when he saw the horde of soldiers charging down the hall. He leapt out the window without first considering who were first out over the lion pit. Poor fellow. What happened to Sammy? The guards ran right past the pile of armour, didn't even think to look for a small halfling buried under there. Lucky for Sammy. Anyway, give old Sammy some credit for stubbornness. He climbed out from under that armour and still came for the ruby. Found me plucking it from its pedestal, in fact. He was surprised to see me, to say the least. I decided to give him a piece of my mind, as I recall. Why, Sammy, I said, why did you betray me? I've never done anything to you. Oh, he must have liked that. I never got to hear his response, oddly. He just turned all purple and his eyes bulged out and he sputtered a lot, looking rather like some outraged kobold. The guards ran in and then, just then, and it was pandemonium. There was fighting and screaming and running. Last I remember, I dived into the sea and woke up 3 days later on a freighter bound for Tharsut. Want to hear the funny part? For all that Sammy was a terrible thief, he was a wonderful pickpocket. Stole the ruby off me, he did, and I had nothing to show for all that. What happened to Sammy? Not sure exactly. I heard he ended up on a slave ship somewhere, got sold off to the high captains in Luskan. Poor sod. Me, I'd like to track down that ruby one of these days. The Star of Kalimshan. Ah, it'd still be worth it to make me famous. I have a ruby here. Is this the one you're looking for? By Brando Barris hairy feet, it is. Where in Faerun did you get that? I found it in a wizard's tower along the south road. Ha! So Sammy did make it hereabouts after all. Probably slaved away in some wizard's kitchen until he slipped into a vat of ale and drowned. Ah, well. Thanks for finding it, my lord. It'll take up a nice spot in my mantle. If I had a mantle, that is. Wish I had something aside from pocket lint to pay you back. All I can offer you is my thanks and friendship in return. I'm not sure I want your friendship considering what happened to Sammy, or that's fine, Tommy, it's more than enough. That's fine, Tommy, it's more than enough. You're a good man, my lord. Now let's find you a cultist and kick some zealot butt. Marvellous. I think that buffs his ring that he gave me earlier. I don't know what I did with the... Am I still wearing his ring? Did I ever wear his ring? I'm only wearing one ring. Oh, probably because I was wearing his ring, and it's been improved. Ring of the Rogue +3. Examine. +3 dex. +3 disable trap. +2 open lock. I want to see if my armor class increases. Armor class 24. Let's put this on. Yeah, 25. Wow, your dex still works. Oh, so only armor check penalty only affects skills at this in this version. Oh, sorry. Listen to me, just a short time ago, someone came here looking for you, or at least someone who matches your exact description. He said he was going to slaughter you and demanded to know where you were. Nearly slit my throat too. Insight, what kind of equipment did he carry? He wore some heavy, spiked armor and carried a massive sword in his scabbard. It was the biggest I've ever seen. He had murder in his eyes. When was he here? Yesterday. I could barely sleep last night for thinking about it. Gods, I nearly died. What kind of equipment did he carry? He wore some heavy... Oh, I already did that. Did he leave a name? No name. He just said he was with the cult. None of us had the courage to ask any questions. There was dried blood on his hands. What was he? Human? Dwarf? He was some sort of orc, and a huge one at that. Thanks for telling me. It was the least I could do. I suggest you run away and never return. I think I might. Okay. Some orc after me. Port Last Mercenary. I think that's where we're going. Mercenary barracks. So let's leave Tommy here.
What can Tommy
I think
do
I'll be
for
better
you?
off on my own. It's just temporary. There we go. And we're going for Dale and Red Tiger.
I suspected you would return. Do you need me to join with you once more?
Yes. My blade is yours to command. Okay, let's have this story.
Is there something you need?
I just want to talk for a while. My strength is in weapons, not words, Tam. I'd like you to continue your story from before, Dalen. I suppose I owe you an explanation of my days in Luskan, Tam. After all we've been through together. As I told you, I went to Luskan in search of glory and honor, but there's no honor to be found in that wretched city. What happened? At first, I found a warm welcome in Luskan. Half-orcs are accepted there, as nowhere else, and I quickly found work as a soldier serving one of the high captain rulers of the city. It was bloody, brutal work. Soldiers from different factions were always battling in the streets. Many men died, many men died by my hand during my weeks there. I killed them because I was paid to kill them, because they served different master. There was no honor in these battles, Tam, only senseless, shameful death. If you hadn't killed them, they would have killed you. You don't understand, Tam. All the killing, all the bloodshed, I liked it. It stirred my soul. Each morning I could taste the coming battles on my tongue and feel the rush of combat in my veins. I reveled in the slaughter like an animal, like a beast. It fed the dark taint of my father's orc blood and left a stain on my soul. I do not know how far I would have fallen had fate not intervened and saved me from myself. What did you mean by fate intervening? My fury in battle earned me a promotion. I was sent to the Luskan flesh markets to guard the slaves in their stockades. My first night in the stockades, the guards brought me a new batch of slaves. Among them was an old man, naked and feeble. I recognized the tattoos on his face as the markings of an Uthgard holy man. I did not know him. He was from another tribe, but seeing him brought in, hands shackled behind his back, brought shame crashing down on me. You helped him escape, didn't you? At first I did nothing. The old man looked at me as he passed, and I saw his eyes that he knew I was of the Oathguard, and he knew what I had become. Without warning, the old man threw himself at the nearest guard, a foolish gesture of defiance, for he was still shackled and bound. He was knocked to the floor, and the guards began to beat him. My world vanished beneath a veil of blood-red rage. When I came to my senses, I stood bathed in gore. The other guards in the stockade all lay dead by my hand. Good, they deserved it. The old man lay bleeding on the floor, stabbed by one of the guards during the fight. As I crouched over him, I saw his wounds were fatal. He gazed up at me and spoke in a voice choked with blood. "Free the others." Continue. With my axe, I hacked away at the chains of the other slaves in the stockades. Once they had all fled into the night, I returned to the old man's side. "Go," he said, with his dying breath. I could do nothing more for him, so I fled before my actions were discovered. I left Luskan that night, a man saved from himself by another's service. You did nothing wrong, Dylan. You fought some soldiers and freed some slaves. I thank you for your words, Tam, and I would like to believe you, but I know what I did in Luskan. I know what vile appetites I fed. I cannot deny that my father's blood is within me. I can only hope to overcome this blight, so that I may someday prove my spirit worthy of the Uthgar. Only then will my tribe welcome me back. Until then, this is my burden to bear, one of many. What do you mean by one of many? Forgive me, Tam. You've been a good friend to listen to my tale, but there are some things I may not be ready to share with you. We've listened to that already.
Yes? Is there something you need?
Let's talk for a while. I'd like you to continue your story from before, Dalen. You've been a true friend for me, Tam. I've been reluctant to speak to you of this, but you did help me recover my mother's brooch. Perhaps you could help me with this as well. I was not completely honest with you about the reasons I left my tribe. It is true I was sent away to prove myself, but there was another reason as well. My mother's death was a violent one. She was brutally slain in a bandit raid on our camp, and I have vowed not to return to my tribe until I avenge her murder. Do you know who killed her? I was out hunting with a band of warriors when the attack came. The raiders hid and waited for us to leave, and then sneaked in with the advantage of numbers. My tribe was outnumbered nearly 2 to 1. They managed to drive all the attackers off. 3 of our warriors fell in battle, as did my mother. How are you going to track down the bandit who killed her? Do you remember when I told you my vision quest? How my mother's brooch would bring me dreams to guide my quest? Last night I had a dream. My mother's spirit sent me this vision. I'm certain of it. In a dream I saw a terrible axe dripping with blood from its notched blade. The weapon was used to slay her. If I can find the axe, I will know I've found her killer. You may think me a fool, Tam, but I believe I will find that axe. I must, or my mother's spirit will never truly be at peace. I will not abandon their search for the cultists behind the plague. I've pledged my blade to you and yours as long as you need me. But I also vow I will not rest until I find the axe with the notched blade that slew my mother. Don't worry, we'll find the axe and the killer who used it. Thank you, Tam. With a friend like you by my side, I have no doubt my mother's death will be avenged. Okay,
Yes.
I think I'll be better off my own. Yes, go. End dialogue. Next, Grimnaw.
I have been waiting.
Ooh,
for
need a
you.
drink for Grimnaw.
I
He's
suspected
pretty rough
you would
voice.
return. Do you need me to join with you once more?
Then together we shall rain blood and death and throw down upon the world.
Is there something you need?
I just want to talk for a while. Conversation is one way to pass the time until the Silent Lord comes to claim us. What do you wish to speak about? I'd like you to continue your story from before, Grimnaw. Earlier I mentioned my order's hatred of the abomination that is undeath, Tam, and I hinted at my own experience in battling such evil. I'm not eager to dredge up those memories, but if we are to stand together, you deserve to hear the tale. What happened? Shortly after I came to join the Order of the Long Death, one of my fellow monks returned to the monastery with ill news. He had discovered the lair of a powerful lich. Our service to the Silent Lords demands that we destroy such an affront to death, so we marched forth to destroy the foul creature and end its unholy existence. I myself never faced the Lich in battle, but it was one of the many but I was one of the many assigned to the task of destroying the Lich's zombie and skeleton servants. Never have I felt such revulsion or terror during a battle. I thought you liked killing and death. There is beauty in death, the exquisite agony of a mangled soldier's screams, well, well up in a glorious crescendo before ending in a single perfect note of eternal silence. The writhing torment of a flailing body is transformed into the magnificent truth of a frozen corpse forever stilled. But when a corpse is not still, when the dead continue to shamble and stumble forward in a gross caricature of living flesh, where is death's beauty then, Tam? I didn't realize you were so squeamish. My order killed scores of zombies in the crypt that day, Tam. Their bodies disintegrated beneath my blows in a shower of rotting flesh. Yet they pressed inexorably forward. But the true horror was yet to come. From the back of the tomb where the highest-ranking monks of the Order battled the Lich herself, waves of necromancy spilled over the battlefield. Several of my companions had fallen during the battle, and as a foul spell touched their corpses, they clambered to their feet. Zombies under the will of the enemy we sought to destroy. You mean you had to kill some of your own companions? We do not fear death, Tam. And had I been able to bring the Silent Lord's touch to my fallen comrades, I would not have felt such revulsion at this memory. But a zombie has no mind. It feels nothing. The pain that purifies and prepares us for death has no effect on such creatures. The understanding that comes from the moment of death is forever denied to such creatures. I destroyed the animated lumps of flesh that were once my brothers and sisters in the Order, but I could not truly kill them. The undead can never be given such release. What about the Lich? The Lich was destroyed, as were all its minions. We burned its lair, setting fire to the crypt so that the dark magic may be cleansed from the sacred place of death. But even though we were ultimately victorious, the cost was terrible. The horror of the battle still haunts me, as does the fate of my fallen brothers and sisters of the Order. I'm sorry for what happened to the other monks of your Order, Grimnaw. I thank you for your words, Tam, though I doubt you truly understand. You bring death and destruction, but you do not understand it is we of the long death. The true horrors of what happened to my brothers and sister is true terrible to comprehend, but I have vowed to free them for their torment of undeath. How do you plan to do that? You are a servant of the Silent Lord, Tam. You bring death and pain to the world, yet even so you are not a member of the Long Death. My order has secrets I am not ready to share with you. This is not the time to speak of such things, Tam. We must focus on rooting out the cult responsible for the Wailing Death. Perhaps we can speak of this later, when the time is right.
Is there something you need?
I just want to talk for a while. He's saying the same thing he said before. Oh. Fizzy drinks. I'd like you to continue your story from before, Grimnaw. My order has many secrets, Tam. Secrets we do not reveal to those outside our monastery. Yet you have proven yourself a friend of the Long Death before. You aided me in finding the ring of Alaganda. I believe you would have helped me bring death to her, had she still been alive when we found her. Perhaps you can be of service to my order once more, for without your aid, I fear my brothers and sisters will never escape their terrible fate. What do you want me to do? I should begin explaining what happened after we burned the Lich's lair. The corpses of our own, those who had risen against us, were brought back to the monastery of my order. There we sought to enact ancient rituals to release their essence from the curse that bound them to their animated corpses, but the chains of undeath are not easily broken. The ancient rituals require rare components, and we had many casualties. A few we were able to save, but the others remained trapped in undeath until we can find more of the necessary components for the ritual. What kind of components are you looking for? The components must come from the crypt of a powerful undead monster, but it must be something that has not yet been tainted by the creature's necromancy. For example, we require the preserved hand from an inanimate corpse within a mummy's crypt. Only the power of such an item can release the essence of my brothers and sisters into the grasp of the Silent Lord. I will not abandon the search for the cultists behind the plague. I have pledged to aid you in destroying those who released the foul taint of the Wailing Death. But during our mission, I will not give up my search for the mummified hand of an inanimate corpse that can release my brethren from death. Don't worry, I'm sure we'll find the components you're looking for. For the sake of my undead brothers and sisters, I can only hope so. Okay, cool. So we're looking for
something you need?
a mummified hand and a crazy axe. I'd like you to level up. You'll be more useful with a little training. My skills have improved somewhat. Give me a few seconds to rest, and I shall be ready to show you my new skills. Let's see what he looks like when he levels up. Ooh, he's got monk robes.
Is there something
I like it.
you need?
I think it's time for us part ways, Grimnall. You're sick and evil man, Grimnall. Too evil for my taste. I think it's just... I just think it's time we parted ways. End dialogue. Okay, Linu.
I hoped that you would return, so I waited here. I've hardly damaged anything since you left. I thought you'd be proud. May I join with you once more, my friend?
Yes. I shall try to breathe life back into you and your quest.
Hey there, dear. What can I do for you?
I just want to talk for a while. I love chatting with you, but don't you think we should focus on your mission right now? I'd like to tell you to tell me more of your story, Linu. You want to know more about how Sith won my heart, Tam? I guess I could tell you about it. I couldn't face Sith. Since our embarrassing encounter, I decided never to be near him again. Easier said than done when dealing with a daring adventurer. One night he scaled a 10-story wall in my parents' home and climbed in through my window. What happened? As he began to quietly serenade me, I sat bolt upright in bed and opened my mouth to scream. He jumped towards me to quiet me, but I didn't know it was him, so I brought my foot up and kicked him in the jaw. He stumbled backwards out of the balcony. I leapt up to continue my attack, but when I got to the balcony, I saw his face in the moonlight. He was holding his jaw, his face wrinkled in pain. You mean you broke his jaw? I just bruised him, but it must have hurt a lot, because when I realized what I had done, I moved to help him, and he must have thought I was attacking again. He leapt over the edge of the balcony, since he didn't want to have to hurt me to stop me. So he said later. I thought he would fall and kill himself, so I ran over to stop him. He grabbed the edge of the balcony floor between the rails and was trying to swing himself forward towards the lower terrace. I didn't see his fingers though. Tell me you didn't. I stepped right on his right hand, causing it to slip off the edge. He managed to hang on with his left hand though. Fearing he would die, I called to Sahanine for strength to save him. I felt power flow through my muscles, and I reached over the edge, grabbing his hand. I pulled. I heard a loud popping noise, and hauled over the wall. I hauled him over the wall, dislocated shoulder and all. At least he survived. I don't think he was terribly thankful at first. He just lay on the balcony, trying to hold his shoulder and rub his jaw. I was trying to apologize, but he just kept begging me not to touch him. Finally, I got frustrated with his protest, and I grabbed his shoulder and popped it back into place. Then I cast a healing spell on him to relieve the pain. Did he forgive you? I never gave him a chance to think about it. I helped him up, kissed him soundly, and then led him to my bedchambers and removed any thought of flight from his mind. Good for you. We were very close after that night, and we married a year later. Those were the happiest years of my life. I just wish they could have lasted. What do you mean? What happened? I can't talk about that right now. The memories are too unpleasant. Let us not talk of such things right now, sweet Tam. We must hunt down the cult responsible for the Wailing Death. Perhaps we can speak of this later, when the time is right.
Hey there, dear.
I just want to talk for a while. I'd like you to tell me more of your story, Lena. You've been a true friend to me, Tam, and I've been reluctant to speak to you of this. But you did help me recover the chalice. Perhaps you can help me with this as well. Synth retired from his adventuring life for a couple of years. Then one day he came home with news he had discovered the location of an ancient city. I knew as soon as he uttered those words he would be off with another of his grand adventures. I wanted to go with him, but he was involved in preparing a special celebration for the temple. He wouldn't wait for you. I think he would have waited for a time when I was wrapped up in something I couldn't get out of. I think he waited for a time when I was wrapped in something I couldn't get out of. It was his way of protecting me. Synth had a friend who was a mage, created a pair of journals. We could write to each other and be in contact every day. I don't know why, but he never wrote to me about his day or his quest. Instead, he would write about his thoughts and philosophies on life and the mysteries. I wish he had written more about where he went. Why is that? The last entry he wrote, he spent several pages telling me on how much he loved me, and no matter what happened to him, I must go on. I knew something was wrong, and I begged him to tell me, but he ignored my pleas. The last thing he wrote was that I could hear them, that he could hear them coming again. That was it. Tam, someday I shall find the caves Synth was exploring, and I'll try to find that journal. I think if I could do that, I would be able to get past these ghosts that haunt my dreams. We'll find the cultist, Tam, and justice shall be done, then perhaps I can resume my quest. I'm certain that the journal must exist somewhere, and someday I shall find it. I found this journal, and it has your husband's name on it. That's it! Oh, Synth, my beloved, you really are gone then. I thought it would be easier than this. I thought he was... But it still hurts. Oh, Tam Axlia, it's all my fault. You must leave me before my bad luck kills you too. It wasn't your fault, Linu. I'm not going to leave you. Oh, Tam Axlia, I wish that I could believe. I don't know what I wish. I just need some time. But thank you for your words. Thank you, Tam. You've proven to be a true friend once again. My heart will heal in time. I must tell you something. As our friendship goes, so will the power of the pendant I gave you. I think you should find that it's stronger now than it was before. This is a wonderful gift, Linu. Thank you. It's a little in comparison to what you've done for me, but I do appreciate it. And you have my friendship and admiration as well. Now let's go and bring those responsible for the plague to justice. Okay,
Hey there, dear. What can I do for you?
I think I'd do better on my own. Oh, friend, is this true? I can't give you your money back. Are you sure this is what? Yes, go. Then I shall wait here until you have further need of me again. Please don't be long. Take care, dear Tam. End dialogue. And body
You're
knock.
back, so you must need something. The most logical assumption is that you want me to join up with you again, correct?
Yes. Okay, then let's go. There's an entire world out there waiting for us to discover it.
Is there something you need?
I just want to talk for a while. I am a staunch proponent of free exchange of ideas, Tam. What is it you wish to know? I'd like to know you. I'd like you to continue your story from before Body Knock. This is difficult for me to speak of, Tam. What happened between my father and I, our falling out, it's a painful memory. But maybe if I share the tale with someone else, I could ease some of the pain and guilt over what happened. That's a logical assumption, isn't it? What happened? My father's days of groundbreaking research in agrimony are behind him. He is an old man content to putter in his own garden, happily living out his days among his friends and family. But even so, he still receives gifts of strange and exotic plants from distant lands, so he can add them to his garden. It is said that in spring, when the flowers bloom in my father's yard, it is truly the most beautiful place on Lantan. It's truly his pride and joy. Let me guess, you destroyed his garden. I wish that had been the only consequences of my actions, Tam. My father asked me to tend his garden for a few weeks when he went to visit a friend on the other side of the island. Everything went well for the first week. I found the work enjoyable enough, though hard and stimulating as a sorcerer's studies. I even came up with a more efficient watering system he could use on his plants. But in the second week, I noticed the beginning of a rotweed infestation. Rotweed? I've never heard of it. Rotweed's a vile, noxious crawling vine with a foul, pungent odour. Unchecked, it will overrun any garden in a matter of weeks, choking the life from every plant. Even worse, the roots release a powerful toxin into the earth, poisoning the soil so nothing else will grow in the land for years. And like the most unwanted garden guests, rotweed is virtually impossible to kill. What did you do? The only way to deal with rotweed is through fire applied directly to the vines. You can make the fire hot. If you can make the fire hot enough, the flames will be absorbed into the plant and burn down to the root, killing the weed. I still remember my father as a child using oil and torches to destroy a rotweed infestation. It was a long and difficult work, for the vine is resistant to fire and it's difficult to make the flames hot enough to wither the roots. However, I had no such worries. As I went off to the garden that morning, the infestation had only just begun and I had a secret weapon. After all, I was a sorcerer. But visions of how pleased my father would be at the efficiency of my methods, I approached the weed and unleashed Burning Hand spell directly at the vine. But something went wrong, didn't it? I made the mistake of approaching the problem without all the necessary data. My actions were logical in the context of my knowledge, but I was operating under a fatally flawed assumption. There was a reason my father used oil and torches to eliminate the infestation, rather than sending for the local mage. Magical fire destroys rotweed, but the intense heat causes the plant to violently explode. The vine burst, spewing molten sap that ignited everything it touched. The roots ignited the earth, and columns of flame erupted from the soil, raining blazing bits of vegetation down around me. Were you hurt? Miraculously, I was unharmed by the conflagration, though the entire garden was soon ablaze, as was my father's house, and the houses of the neighbours on either side. No one was injured, and for that at least I am grateful, but by the time the fire brigade doused the flames of all the houses were ruined, and my father's prize-winning garden was nothing but ash. You burned down 3 homes, and destroyed your father's garden. That's horrible. I am well aware of the terrible nature of my tragedy, Tam, and what cost it had to my father. My father is a wealthy man, so he did not begrudge me the compensation he had to pay to his neighbours, or the cost of replacing his own home, but his garden was utterly destroyed, and for that he has never forgiven me. Maybe someday I can make it up to him, Tam. Some gesture to heal the pain I've caused him. Like what? Please, I don't want to discuss this any longer. The memory is too painful. Perhaps later I'll be in a mood to speak of my tale, but for now we should focus on your mission. The cult responsible for the Wailing Death must be found. Let's clip that. And try again.
Is there something you need?
I just need to talk for a while. I'm a staunch proponent of the free exchange of ideas, Tam. What is it you wish to know? I'd like you to continue your story from before, Bodyknock. The pain of what happened with my father, of how it destroyed the garden he had spent a life cultivating, is a very personal pain, Tam. But you have proven yourself to be a good friend. After all, it was you who helped me find the leavened bread. I suppose it's only logical to expect you might be able to help me with my father as well. What do you want me to do? I know I can never replace the many varieties of plants and flowers that were once in my father's garden, but perhaps if I made a grand gesture, he would find it in his heart to forgive me. Throughout my father's life there has been one flower he's longed to see more than any other, but one which he has never been able to acquire. Among the great library of Lantan, there are accounts of the prism blossom, a living, glowing flower whose petals are said to change colour and reflect light as if they were made of crystal. So why don't you get one of those prism blossoms? The account of the flower occurs only in one text, the travel diary of an explorer who died several centuries ago after returning from a journey to the north. No one has ever been able to locate this rare flower or its gleaming crystal seeds, though many have spent a lifetime searching for it. It may be the prism blossom is only a myth, Tam, but if I could find the seeds of this flower and give them to my father, I'm certain he would forgive me for destroying his garden. I will not abandon the search for the cultists behind the plague. I have pledged to aid you in destroying those who released the foul taint of the Wailing Death. But part of me is hoping that in our journeys we'll be lucky enough to stumble across the crystalline seeds of the prism blossom. I have some strange seeds here. Are these what you're looking for? Let me see. Yes! These seeds do seem to be made of glass, and their shape and size are consistent with the accounts of the travel diary. You've done it, Tam! When I present these to my father, he's certain to forgive me. Thank you, Tam, but I'm afraid the only reward I have to give is my thanks. The reward you offer is greater than you know, Bodyknock. Although I have no reward to repay you, Tam, there may be some benefit to you aiding me in this quest. Lantanee's artifacts draw their energy from the thrill of discovery and the wonder of exploration. This remarkable discovery may have augmented the powers of the ring I gave you earlier. In any case, I thank you once again, Tam, but I will not leave your side yet. Only once we have located the cult behind the Wailing Death will I return to my homeland and present these seeds to my father. Which? And right. I think there's one more.
Is there something you need?
I need to part ways. Yes, go. Bye-bye. There's the bard. Where is she? Jarwin. There she is. Just a second. I need a drink
You'd show up here
to...
soon. I'm glad to see I was right. So, shall we join up once more?
Actually, stop talking. I want to hear your voice so I can do it properly. Live dashboard. Okay.
I suspected you'd show up here soon. I'm glad to see I was right. So, shall we join up once more?
Her voice is quite similar to Linu's. Yes. Good, let's go.
Yes? Is there something you need?
I just want to talk for a while. Talk? About what, Tam? I'd like you to continue your story from before, Sharwin. I had just mentioned the invitation from Athkatla, hadn't I? Yes, that's right. We went through, though I had a sense of foreboding the entire way. The city of Coin lived up to its name. It was a golden, bustling place that rivaled even Great Waterdeep. The palace we arrived at was larger than any building I had ever seen. Danan assured me that we would find our fortune there, and for a while I thought he might be right. We were to play before the fabulously wealthy Lord and Lady Inaris, and all seemed well. What went wrong then? Nothing went wrong at first. Danan and I were pampered and prepared for our performance, and it went off without any problems. We sang in the great hall before 100 nobles. It still takes my breath away to think about, and the applause from our duet was thunderous. I remember being exhilarated and pleased, as Danan was. It was then that our Lord and Lady Inaris came to greet us in person. Lord Inaris was a fat and simple man who seemed bored. The lady, however, she was an exotic beauty. Violet eyes, elfin features, an astounding gown. Every man watched as she passed. Uh-oh, that does sound bad. I would have hoped not. I would have hoped that love meant something, but Danan didn't fail to notice her charms. That was certain. Of course I asked why we were invited. Lady Inaris ignored me and fawned over Danan, saying how she had spotted him in a lovely tavern in Burgos and wanted to meet him. I had been in Burgos too, of course, but I was completely ignored. She cooed over Danan, and he was flushed with the pleasure of attention. He agreed readily to a year-long contract to perform. Of course I was not happy about it. Danan calmed me later and assured me that there was nothing to worry about. Nothing could have been further from the truth. Why did you stand for it? You think I didn't fight over Danan? Of course I did. Things weren't exactly as they seemed, however. That's the tale I'll continue at another time, however. I tire of thinking about Danan, Tam. Let's do something else.
Yes? Is there something you need?
I just want to talk for a while. Talk? About what, Tam? I'd like you to continue your story from before, Sharwin. Very well, Tam. I had already told you we'd met the Lady Inaris, correct? That she'd fawned over Danan, but he'd assured me that there was nothing to fear. Well, we were bound by contract now to perform, so we did. We did so well, too. It was not long before we were the toast of Athkatla, praised by the Lord and Lady Inaris every turn. Nobles showered us with attention and gifts at every turn. Everyone wanted us to perform for them next. I was a bit dazzled by it all, but also concerned. Lady Inaris continued to lavish attention on Danan. She called him to private performances without me. He was spellbound despite my efforts to distract him. Were they having an affair? I prayed that it was not so. I suspected, but I could prove nothing. The servants were too good at misdirecting me, subtly keeping me from interrupting their privacy. Desperate and angry, I accused Danon of succumbing to her lust. He denied it angrily, and I believed him, almost. After one of our large concerts, I followed Danon as he left the stage. I used what magic I knew to disguise myself, avoiding the servants and keeping pace with him. I felt terribly guilty for the deception, hoping against hope that my suspicions were for naught. Of course I was disappointed. I watched him visibly as Danon made his rendezvous with Lady Anaris, laying fevered kisses upon her, and saying how every minute they were apart was excruciating for him. You should have left. You're right. If I'd had any sense, I would have left. I was young and in love, however, and that leaves no room for sense. In my shock, I must have dropped my spell, for the Lady Anaris spotted me. She did not care. She only laughed lightly and pointed me out to Danon. He merely looked at me and smiled. I merely stood there dumbfounded, as Danon called me a foolish little girl, pathetic even. Not only did he prefer Lady Anaris, but he had never loved me. I fled, their mocking laughter ringing in my ears. I fled them. I fled Athkatla, and I've never been back. That's horrible, Sharwin. Yes, I was devastated. I had left the security of my family to make Danon my world, and it crumbled around me. As I said, however, things were not as they seemed. I found out much later that Lady Anaris' beauty was a result of an enchantment, a glamour. She had spellbound Danon in the literal sense. I have discovered that a lock of the nymph's hair will break the spell. Danon will be released, and her glamour will end. She will revert to her natural appearance, old and fat, so I hear. Are you sure Danon is still with her? Yes, as the story goes at any rate. He has been famous bard in Athkatla for years, and she is still his patron. A fairy tale that will end one day. Everyone should be allowed their little illusions, perhaps. I admit that it would give me some small satisfaction to remove her spell once and for all. All it takes will be finding that nymph's hair. One day, perhaps, I shall discover some. We'll find you some nymph's hair, Sharwin. I believe you, Tam. It doesn't matter. We have more important things to do here. Okay, so that nymph's hair we can just walk up and get, I imagine.
Yes? Is there something you need?
I'm going to... I think I'd do better off my own. Yes, go. Goodbye. And I'm just going to end the YouTube video there. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Come watch me on Twitch. Twitch.tv/Tam Axlia. And we'll head on to the next mission.